by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Sunset Safari, the one and only place in the world that you can go out on a live safari from the comfort of your living room, bedroom, office, or wherever it is that you happen to be. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon I have the wonderful Brian Joubert on camera with me. I actually missed, I didn't see what the thumb was today. It's a gremlin. The thumb is a gremlin. Very appropriately, the thumb is a gremlin because, of course, as you can see, we are still on Maggie, the makeshift Mahindra. We've had the vehicles have had an attack of the gremlins recently. So much dust blowing all over us. And that is why we are out on Maggie, the Mahindra. Now don't forget, not only are we live, we're also interactive, which means send through your questions on hashtag SafariLive on Twitter, or email them through to questions@wildearth.tv. And it is a beautiful, crisp and clear winter's afternoon here on Djuma, Arathusa and Cheetah Plains Game Reserves in the Sabi Sand in the Great Kruger National Park of South Africa, so right up in the top northeastern corner of our beautiful country. We've been seriously spoilt with the cat sightings over the last, I would say since I came back to work, so about 10 days ago. We've just had so much luck, and I don't think that this afternoon is going to be any different. I had the morning off this morning. I didn't go out on our sunrise safari, but I hear that exciting things were happening, which included lion cubs and also a very interesting leopard showdown between two generations of leopards. But never fear, Brent is on his way towards Cheetah Plains as we speak to hopefully follow up on Shumbambalana, as well as his younger brother Quarantine. Brian and I, on the other hand, have got slightly different plans. We're going to go and see if we can't find those adorable new additions to the Nkuhuma Pride. And I'm going straight there. I'm not going to stop unless we see something extraordinary, because I think only one vehicle at a time is going to manage to get into that sighting, which means we're going to have limited time with them, and we want to try and get there before the other vehicles go out with their guests. So we're just going to keep moving unless we come across something truly marvelous to stop and show you. Quite the contrast to this morning, where everybody was out wrapped in lots of jackets. It's 23 degrees centigrade, which is 73 Fahrenheit. So a lovely, beautiful afternoon. Really nice and warm, particularly in the sun, as we trundle along in the very noisy Mahindra. Astralina has said that it's a good thing that Brian's thumb is painted as a gremlin, because it means that he'll be able to keep the gremlins on a leash. Well, we certainly hope so, Astralina. What do you think, Brian? You think you've got control? Do you think the thumb's got it under control? I hope so too. I hope so too. We're gonna have to just keep our fingers crossed. Yesterday, Rusty limped home. Brent found the problem with it this morning on the sunrise safari, and it wasn't anything disastrous. So hopefully we should be able to keep the gremlins at bay. James has gone into town to purchase us replacement parts for Wendy in order to get her up and running. So all is well, all is looking mighty positive. And perhaps perhaps the thumb will bring us some luck. And just by the way, at the end of the sunrise safari, as Brent and Dave were driving home from Cheetah Plains and we were all gathered round for breakfast, the Queen Karula herself, the female leopard that is dominant in this area, she actually made an appearance right outside the entrance to the camp. So she is around as well, and there's a distinct possibility we could be seeing her on this sunset safari, just to add to the luck that we've had over the last few days. While we've been making our way towards the lion cubs, I know that Brent has been steaming forth towards the east and towards Cheetah Plains. Let's find out if he's got there yet, and let's give him a chance to say hello.
Welcome to the Sunset Safari. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have Jean-Dre on camera with me, and we are on our way in search of Shivambalan in quarantine. So for those of you who missed the sunrise safari, 2 male leopards, both sons of Karula, growling at each other from a respectable distance. And right at the end, we extended drive for a little bit, and believe it or not, they got chased by a buffalo. So quite exciting, and we're now hoping that they are still on Cheetah Plains. They were sort of slowly mobile south was the general direction. They were lying flat when we left them. So hopefully we can find both. If not, one will suffice. But we're going to head down towards the Mala Mala boundary and then come from the Mala Mala boundary back towards 3 in a row pan to see if there are any tracks down towards the south. Now they could be anywhere from here. Now it has been quite a warm winter's day and started off getting chilly this morning. It got quite chilly with the overcast weather, but it is brightened and beautified up. So now we're the first vehicle out on Cheetah Plains. So we're hoping to find fresh pug marks in the glorious sand. There's a little river system just to the east of us here, and that's where they were. Hi, Sandy. Sandy is in sunny Florida, and Sandy is wondering whether Shivambalan and Quarantine know they are brothers, and would they actually fight? Because when we saw Shadow and Kruger, they didn't. With males, Sandy, it's always it's a bit different. I don't think they know they're brothers. They're from different litters, so they've probably never been together in the presence of Kruger. I mean, there's always a possibility. You never know what happens after dark and when we go home. But I don't think so. I must say, I was quite surprised by Shivambalan's behavior. It could be because he is quite new to being a dominant male. He's only 6. That he didn't immediately see off Quarantine. Now, I feel if that had been a Tingana or Anderson, they would have charged and barreled into that little, this much smaller male leopard. And you could see the obvious size difference between the two. Okay, so I need to concentrate here. Let's see if we've got any leopard footprints. Nope. That's a good thing though. We want them to be this side. That side is out of our traverse zone, not too far. I'm just going to go very, very slowly along here. And check carefully down towards the river system. They could be in the river system. Now, when I say river system, I think that's a very strong description. A dry creek bed is possibly a better description of what is down here. I'm looking very, very carefully, checking in the shade. Although it's quite cool with this wind, they might actually be basking in the sun. Now I said we've started from this side, so we've made sure they haven't come this way, and we're moving back towards the last spot I saw them. And so far, no tracks. Now we're getting very close to the last place we saw them, so I'm going to concentrate heavily on tracking and spotting. So while I scour this area of Cheetah Plains, let's jump back on board with Jamie.
While Brent scours Cheetah Plains, we've been doing some scouring of our own, and I'm just about to approach the spot opposite to where we saw that lioness. I'm not going too fast, straight back to where she was, just in case she has decided to move. Maybe if she's moved across the drainage line. There were a lot of elephants around and about this afternoon, or this morning when we went there after the sunrise safari. We took some of the members of the crew that don't always get to go out, the lovely ladies from Final Control, for example. They often get stuck watching through a screen, so it's a pleasure for them to be able to go out every now and again and see the animals up close and personal. When we last saw her, she was tucked away very comfortably in some shade in the drainage line, and it looks as though from where we could have seen her, it looks as though she's moved a little bit. Hopefully not too far though, and hopefully she hasn't been chased away by elephants. There were lots and lots of them around, as I said, and as you know, lions or elephants are not a huge fan of any of the predator species, and they will often go out of their way to chase them away. Now let us try. We are in the Mahindra, so we're about double the length of our usual little vehicles, double the length of Jigger and Wendy and Rusty. So getting into the spot is a little bit more tricky. Now, speaking of the different types of vehicles that we get and the different ways of going about a safari, Simon, absolutely no, it isn't safe to drive around on a quad bike. I have seen people do it. I know of people that do it, and on motorbikes as well. It is so dangerous. That small quad bike, you're basically like, it's like an invitation to a lion to chase you. So I've seen people driving around on motorbikes. I've heard horror stories. A very close guiding friend of mine, a guy called Toko Zan, he started out working in anti-poaching and doing fence patrols, and they gave them motorbikes for fence patrols. And at one stage he was chased by a pride of lions. The lioness actually jumped onto his back, and luckily he was wearing a backpack, because she stripped the backpack straight off his shoulders. How he managed to keep his balance with 300 plus pounds of female lion on him, I will never know. But it was a story that he used to tell with great relish around the fireplace every now and again. Okay. Oh, my legs are not long enough to reach the clutch. Oh, come on, Mahindra. There we go. Just trying to get her into low range, which is very difficult when you're my size. Despite sitting on one towel and 2 pillows, I still managed to feel dwarfed by this Mahindra. There are tracks coming out of here, so I'm just going to concentrate very carefully on figuring out where she's gone. And while I do that, I believe that Brent has got something to show you.
Hello, Mr. Q. So we found quarantine. Oh, look at that. Isn't that stunning? Up in the bowels of a big marula tree, not far from where we left him this morning. There's no sign of Shivambalan just yet. Isn't that exquisite? Hey, Mr. Q. I do love the young male leopards. They are so wonderful. I hope you guys are getting some incredible screenshots of that. Snap a picture or two myself if you don't mind. And remember to share your screenshots with us on the Facebook page Safari Live, or in any of the various Safari Live fan groups, and also on Twitter with the hashtag Safari Live. So Mr. Q, it's not impossible that Shivambalan's still around, we just haven't seen him, and this is just too much of a beautiful sight not to show it to you. So this morning, Donna noticed that one of the leopards had a scar on his nose, but I actually think both of them had scars on their nose. And the more prominent one was on Shivambalan, but you can see this guy's also, Mr. Q's also got a scar on his nose. So it's not uncommon that most leopards, specifically males, will have a scar. I'm just trying to check quickly. You hear that? It's me rolling the wheel of the camera. So the more prominent scar from this morning was on Shivambalan, down his nose, and he also had quite a, not fresh, but a recent wound under his left eye. Oh man, that is beautiful. Young male leopards are such good quality viewing. They are almost always up to something, or they do sleep quite heavily as well. But we stopped to give you a bit of perspective from a distance, and look at that. Well, he keeps looking back that way. I wonder if Mr. Shivambalan isn't lying down in the thickets to the north. But let's get a little bit closer. But that's the way to start a sunset safari. Beautiful male leopard atop a marula. Oh, he's on the move. Let me just get John in the right position. He should come down facing us. Get ready, guys. Ready with the screenshots. Hey, Mr. Q. You see, he's quite hungry. And he seems to have waited all evening, all day, just for us to arrive before heading on a patrol. He might head up towards 3 in a row pan for a drink, and who knows, he might bump into Mr. Shivambalan. Okay. We're going to stick with him. Now, he jumped from about as high as I fell the other day. He did it a lot more gracefully than I did, of course. Okay, I'm just trying to find a spot where we can maneuver through. And also just trying to make sure that Shivambalan isn't around. Oh, the cats have been so good to me since I've got back from leave. In Birmingham and Amber Eyes last night. The cubs and then 2 male leopards today. Oh, and now to start off with one of my favorite, I know a lot of your favorite leopards, Quarantine. He's going to come climb this big termite mound here, I'm quite sure of it. We all know how Mr. Q loves a good termite mound. And he is quite hungry. That's maybe why he started moving already. So there he is. And we're just going to go around to the other side of the termite mound, where he's going to hopefully pop on top and look down at us from a different high point. It's a particularly nice big termite mound as well. Oh no, Mr. Q decided to prove me wrong. Oh, we're in a hole. Now you can see that sort of hollow section there, and it's showing he's hungry. He's got a little bit of a limp, nothing serious. Maybe he did have a wrestle with Shivambalan after drive, or maybe even before we arrived. Whoa, there we go. Now I'm hoping he doesn't go into, there's some impenetrable strychnos or monkey orange blocks around here. So I'm hoping he doesn't head into one of those. So it sounds like there's some incredible screenshots. So awesome, guys. Hopefully he's gonna give us a few more just now. Oh, yeah. Watch out for those GoPros. You still see? There it is. I thought I lost him, but I could just see him disappearing into a Strychnos thicket, of course. Now, the lions did it to me yesterday. It's quarantine turn today. Now, that road we came in on is very close, fortunately. Now you can see how his camouflage works so well on this dappled light. So even that there's very little grass around, he's still got a good chance of catching something to eat, like a steenbok or a duiker. This is not really impala country we're in at the moment. Hi, Kim in South Carolina. Kim wants to know, when was the last time anyone saw Tingana? I'm not sure. As I only got back yesterday, so maybe someone out there can let me know when was the last time Tingana was spotted. Hey, Mr. Q. If he sticks on a nice big elephant path like this, we've got a really good chance of sticking with him. Now, he's being quite naughty, and he is scent marking as he goes. Right, back on the eddy path. I just wanted to have a quick look on this elephant path. I wondered if he was trailing Shivambalan for a second, but it doesn't look like it. He's brave, but he's not that brave. I think he's spotted something. His body language has just changed. Here he is there. You can see that camouflage at full force. Just trying to see. Trying to see what. Yeah, no, nothing. Oh, look at this. Out here in the middle of one of the driest blocks in our Traverse area is this green tree that Quarantine is making his way towards, and it looks like an Natal fig tree out here in the middle. Now that is probably grown around another tree and completely killed it, and just out here in the middle of one of the driest areas we've got a tree species that's generally associated with water. Beautiful fig tree. He's being cheeky and scent marking again. is taking us into some decidedly thick spots. He's scent marking like a big adult male. Cheeky little thing. Oh, it's all about attitude. Now, I'm going to keep an eye on him. But if we look at this, you can see what I mean, that it's strangled another tree. So you can see these lower roots. I mean, there was obviously another tree inside. I'm trying to see if there's any remnants. I think it's completely gone. A beautiful fig tree. Nice to know it's here, but we don't want to lose Mr. Q. It's just, sorry. Debbie, I will get to your question. I'm just trying to negotiate through here without whacking the virtual reality rig. Oh, Strychnos, you make so much noise. Mister decided to stop for a rest. Now, of course, because I chose a termite mound for him, he didn't like it, but he seems to like this one just fine. How's that, John? Actually, let me get the grass out of the way. How's that? There we go. Oh, there is a hole. It doesn't look to be active, though, just below him. So Debbie in Vancouver, I'm back with you now. And Debbie, sorry, I'm distracted again. John, I've just seen an insect I've never seen before in my life. Look at this thing. It's got a parachute. And it like literally landed like with a parachute. Sorry, I know, sorry, it's just, I've never seen anything like this in my life before. So it's bright yellow with a white like parachute. A white fluffy tail that goes, that goes straight up. I've never seen anything like that. Isn't it the most bizarre little creature? Now, if anyone can tell me what that is, I have no idea. It could be a type of froghopper beetle. I'm just trying to look at the shape. Now, a froghopper beetle is not actually a beetle, it's a bug. I don't see those prominent back legs of a froghopper. I'm just going to move my... Oh, did it jump? Yep. Yeah, it was it's a spittle bug or a froghopper beetle. Where'd it go? It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. Anyway, we have a leopard. Sorry, a little interlude of little froghopper beetle. So froghopper beetles are not beetles, they're spittle bugs. Now, those are the things that, the reason weeping wattles weep and rain trees rain. Hi, Debbie. Sorry, I just kept getting distracted there. Debbie's wondering, with leopards being solitary, would they avoid a fight where possible? They will try to avoid actual physical confrontation. It does happen, but if they can, they'll posture and growl and snarl and scent mark and call rather than actually physically attacking each other. Not to say that they don't physically attack each other, it does happen, but that's sort of last resort. This beautiful big boy, Mr. Quarantine. You're acting like a man much older than you are. I definitely think he's one of my favorite leopards to photograph. Now, it doesn't really get much better than this, because we're going to say toodles for a little bit. We're going to sit here while Quarantine sits on top of his termite mound. But Jamie has got a surprise for you back on Djuma.
A surprise that is perhaps not too much of a surprise, but nevertheless thoroughly pleasant. Now, not the best view of the Nkuhuma Cubs that we've ever had, but definitely a very special way to be spending a Friday afternoon out in the bush. And luckily for us, lion cubs don't tend to stay too still for too long, which means there is a chance that they are going to start moving more into the open area to start to play, because I think that their play is a little bit restricted. Some angry elephants I can hear off in the distance. You won't be able to hear them, unfortunately, but they're definitely sounding very cross and perhaps like they're moving towards the Vuyatela Dam, for those of you who are regular watchers of the Djuma Dam camera. So Mom is here. She has positioned herself in an even more obscure place, hidden behind the bushes and the leaves. She's next to invisible to us, apart from the odd twitch of the ear every now and again. A really, really tricky position in Maggie the makeshift Mahindra. Just to give you a sort of a brief idea of where we are on the the eastern bank of a river system that cuts through in front of us. So there is an enormous dip in front of us. There is an enormous dip on the other side of the lines. It would have been okay for our little landies, and I know that Rusty did a fantastic job this morning, or at least Brent driving Rusty did a fantastic job of positioning in a good spot to see them, but for us that is next to impossible. So we'll just have to bear with the view that we have for now and hope that the little cubs decide to oblige us by, they are starting to play behind the trees. You see a little bit of that, Brian. Awesome. Wonderful. I've been, I have to tell you, so excited about seeing these cubs properly. And now to have them, for the moment, happily living on Djuma is just such a pleasure. There's only two there for now, 1 foot in the air. I don't know where the third cub is. It was definitely here this morning when we were with them. So it's probably around, maybe just it's feeling slightly sleepier than its siblings. Lion cubs keep up an almost constant game of battling with each other until they fall asleep, until nap time. And then nap time ensues for a couple of hours, and then it's right back to the very important business of building up those muscles and fighting techniques that they will need to use when they are full-grown big cats. Well, since our little lion cubs are doing a fantastic job of sort of behaving like the adults and remaining stealthy and hidden, let's go over to Quarantine, who is up and about.
So it was just a quick little break and we're on the move again. I'm trying to see. He is taking us into a very thick area. But we shall stick with him. Oh, that's not going to end well for Jean-Andre or myself, I don't think. Ooh, there we go. Now remember, we're on a live African safari. We are in real time following a male leopard through the bush of the Cheetah Plains. Which is how we just need to drop the antenna for a second. Are we okay? We're good, we're good, we're gone. Of course, that male leopard is able to maneuver through the bush a bit easier than we are. I just had a last glimpse of him through there. Cool. Okay, so while we try and keep up with him in this thick bush, let's go back to possibly the cutest creature in the African bush, a little lion cub.
Well, hopefully Brent does manage to sneak through the bushes and keep up with the marvelous quarantine. In the meantime, as you can see, our view has improved tremendously, and I think the cubs are now, for Brian, even more obscured. I can't see exactly what it is you're seeing, but I think it's safe to say that basically those leaves are very cute. The leaves are adorable, aren't they, Brian? Terribly cute leaves with some sort of sand-colored movement happening behind it. Beautiful backlighting for this scenery. It would be absolutely stunning if only our sweet little cubs would decide to come out into the open. Well, I'm not in any rush to leave, though. I think we'll take advantage of as much time as we can to spend with them, and then just hope that at some point they decide to pop out. Because, as I said, lion cubs are very playful little creatures. Oh, there we go. Sort of. Hey, you two. Proper cuddle. You can sort of just make them out. No, don't go that way. I know Mom is there, but don't go that way because we are definitely not going to be able to see you if you go there. I think the one cub has shown us the path to the other. I think that's where the other little cub has been sleeping and hiding, only to have its rest disturbed by a restless and playful sibling. Oh. Lion cub number 3. Oh, I don't think this will ever get old. The novelty of watching these little lion cubs is going to remain with us, and such a pleasure to know that we're going to be watching them grow up over the next few months. And one day we'll look back at this footage, or you guys will look back on the footage of the drives and reminisce as to how small and cute they were, because a lion cub grows phenomenally quickly. Cat in Tampa, you have been won over by the lion cubs. It's something that James always made this bold claim that lion cubs are the cutest animals or the cutest baby animals out here. And Cat in Tampa has been won over by that argument, saying that she never thought she'd say this, because of course we've been so spoiled with leopard cub sightings as well. But Cat in Tampa thinks that lion cubs are the cutest. I do know exactly what you mean, and especially while I'm watching them now, they're absolutely irresistible. Hard to imagine that in 2 years' time they're going to be 300 to 500 pound muscled feline killers. At the moment they are the size of about the rough height of a domestic house cat. A little bit heavier though, a little bit stronger, but nevertheless utterly adorable. But I'm not sold. I don't think that lion cubs are the cutest baby animal in the bush. I think that prize goes to a baby rhino, or maybe a baby elephant, or I don't know. It depends on the mood that I'm in the day that you ask me on. 3 little tawny shapes wrestling with each other on the other side of the drainage line. What do you think, Brian? Which is your favorite baby animal?
I don't know.
Brian's.
Lion cubs are pretty good.
Yeah, Brian says he's not sure, but that lion cubs are pretty amazing. Oh, look, they are incredible, don't get me wrong. I think they're absolutely adorable. But do they get the title of the cutest baby animal? Baby rhino are a newborn baby rhino with giant ears and giant feet that does its little rhino dance and makes its little rhino squealing sounds. But then these cubs do little things like this, battering each other with their paws, and I can't help but smile. Brings an instant smile to my face. So cute. Absolutely adorable. It'd be interesting to see what the sex ratio in terms of boys and girls is when they get a little bit, well, when we get a slightly clearer view, or when they get a little bit older and it gets easier to determine whether we have males or females. And when that does occur, then you'll have this incredible opportunity to watch the way in which male and female lion cubs grow and the speed that they grow. Well, since our leopard cubs, oh sorry, I keep calling them leopard cubs, those are not leopards, those are lions, I'm sorry. I do know the difference. They both might be spotted, but that's very definitely lion cubs. Let's go back to an actual leopard, not a leopard cub, with Brent.
He just ran off into the bush. Now he's just in front of us here. He's just behind this dead bush here. I can't see what he's stalking. Okay, let me just inch forward a little bit. There he is. Now, he's just hiding through the bush there. I just have to be on the game drive radio for a second, sorry. And I forgot the name of the road we're on. That's a bit of the problem. Okay. Look, where is he going now? Look, he's definitely after something. So, I just have to get hold of Ephraim quickly. Ephraim. Go Northern Channel. Oh, he's gonna lie down. F. I forgot my map for CP today, but he's come out onto a road. He's crossing a road, but to the west of 3 in a row. Now, oh, he's stand by one. He's on the stalk again. He can obviously see something we can't. Now, can you see anything, Chandra? Oh, I hear something. Oh, there it goes. It was a diker. It was a diker. It disappeared at high speed. I don't know if we're going to be able to follow him through here. Ooh. He's still going. I think we might have to try from the other side. Oh, there he is there. He's just hidden in the bush through here. We're just going to try to figure out a way to get to him. While we do that, let's go back to the lion cubs and Jamie.
Well, brief distraction from their moment of play while they tumbled across the top of each other. They actually stopped to have a really close look at us, at Brian and myself sitting opposite them on the drainage line wall. A source of something interesting. At some point, our novelty will definitely wear off. Oh, I'm going across to Mom now. Our novelty will wear off, and these little lion cubs will very rapidly get used to the presence of people and vehicles, which is, of course, what makes the Sabi Sand such an incredible place for guests and tourists and researchers and whoever else might be visiting it to come and have a look at them or look at the different animals. This might not be the best view, but they're definitely the most adorable little things. I haven't had a good chance to have a look at Mom. I don't know if she's hungry or not. I know that the Nkuhuma lioness I was with yesterday with amber eyes, she was absolutely starving. But I'm not sure about this one. But Wesley, she would absolutely hunt with her little cubs in tow. Basically what she would do at this age is she would sort of start hunting something. If she spotted something she wanted to hunt, she would start moving towards it, and somehow they communicate to the little cubs that they must absolutely stay put and not make a sound. And that works really well from about 6 weeks of age right up until about 8 or so months. And it's at that point, however, that you actually start to see a sort of a different aspect to the little lion cub's personality, because that's when they start messing up hunts for mom and the rest of the pride. They get over enthusiastic and they think they want to help. They don't know what they're doing. They have no idea how to sneak up on anything. And as a result, the pride failure rate in terms of hunts that are initiated versus successful hunts, their failure rate actually skyrockets because they are being sabotaged by their own cubs, which is absolutely hilarious to think about. And it's very funny to watch because you can just see the frustration on the lioness's face when their hunts are derailed by the sudden appearance of a lion cub. And they do get very curious. And then, by the time they hit about 1.5 years, 2 years old, they're fully participating in the hunts and learning about how to go about it, and often are the ones to initiate a stalk and a chase and a hunt. It's because they are trying to hone their skills. At the moment, honing their skills comes entirely in the form of battering each other around. It's the best way of building up their muscle strength. Oh, you're just too cute. It's nice being a lion cub. There's a constant companion to play with. You very seldom get solitary lion cubs, at least in the beginning, unless they have been, unless the rest of the litter has been killed off. But they've just got constant company. Must be always entertaining and never boring. Oh, I don't know if can you see that, Brian, at all? Not really. So. The cubs are climbing on top of Mom's head now. Oh, pouncing on her and then sliding off. And I mean, they are basically the size of her face. They're the size of her skull. So they just look so incredibly small in comparison. Now, I'm just thinking about how we could make a plan and we could reposition to see a little bit better. I'm just wondering if maybe I couldn't shuffle us a little bit to the right. I'm going to try it. Let's see if it will work. I don't think it will. Oh, she's up. Sorry. Hold on. Things have changed. Plan has changed. I want to see if where she's planning on going. Please, big girl, don't go down the western side of the strange line wall. Let's just wait and see where she goes. And if she's taking her cubs with her. Cool. Well, that was exciting. She has resettled herself in probably an even worse position. I don't know what your view's like, Brian. I can't really see her at all. And there's no way that I can reposition in order to get you a view. So unfortunately, things have got a little bit more tricky because I don't think, even with repositioning, we're going to be able to see them. And the cubs are now off to the right and pretty much invisible. So while we talk about our invisible cubs, Constance, what's the chances of the cubs surviving to adulthood? It's not the worst mortality rate. A leopard has a higher mortality rate in terms of the cubs that they generally lose. On average in this area, it depends on males or females, but the average sits just under 70% of cubs don't make it past their first year. Oh dear, things are making strange sounds in the Mahindra. Oh yes, there's a chance. There is a chance that these cubs will not make it, but bear in mind that that average is built up over many different circumstances, including pride takeovers, so including situations where as soon as a new male comes into a territory or new males come into a territory, they invariably kill all of the cubs that are remaining. And what that means is that automatically lifts up the averages. Statistically, it lifts up the mortality rate and the percentage rate. Now, I don't think we run that risk here. I'm really hoping I'm right about that. I think the 4 Birmingham boys are very much in control of this area. They don't seem to have any major incoming competition. So I think that they should at least be able to keep this set of cubs and their cousins, their immediate cousins that are about to be born. I think that they will keep them safe and secure. So they will at least raise one generation of new Styx cubs and new Nkuhuma cubs. Unfortunately, however, things are very difficult, and I think we might decide to leave at some point, or not leave, try from the opposite side of the riverbank. I don't think that's going to work either, though. I think we're sort of stuck with this view for now. And there is somebody interested in this sighting, so just bear with me 1 second. I know your view is not fantastic, but let me just chat to Gladwell. Oh, never mind. I thought he wanted to come and join us, but he doesn't. He seems to be relatively content not to. Okay, what shall we do? I wonder if we shouldn't leave and then come back a little bit later, see if they haven't moved into the sun, because I definitely don't think that they're going to shuffle around too much right now. And just speaking of cubs and leopard cubs, Kat in Tampa, you want to know if we have any updates on Karula and her cubs. No. So I said that Karula was seen around the Voyatella Dam. She didn't have her cubs with her. Oh, hold on. Haven't been any tracks. Hello, little monster. Come on. Come on. Come say hello. Come play out in the open for us. No? You're just going to go to sleep now. Yes. It's very tiring work doing all of that growing in one go. So sorry, Kat, in Tampa, we haven't found their tracks, and we have not heard any updates about them. No, absolutely no reason to worry or panic just yet. I'm sure she, in her typical Karula fashion, will be keeping them safe from harm, but we just don't know exactly where she's put them. I would guess somewhere around Treehouse Dam, but that's an entirely just guesswork, since that's just one of her favorite areas to hang out. Right. Well, that was the end of that view of the cub. This lioness is showing signs of wanting to move. She's not sort of resting and relaxed. She's constantly looking up and on alert. I don't know if that means she's heard something. It doesn't look like she's heard something. It just looks like she's thinking about moving. Now, if I were her, I would go and lie in the sun and enjoy the last little bit of warmth. Now, Caroline is sort of relatively unfamiliar with the process that happens during a male lion's takeover. Now, Caroline, the mother does try to defend her cubs when there is a takeover. And in fact, when we saw the disastrous takeover with the Birmingham boy, not disastrous, it was the natural way that things occurred, but the Birmingham boys came in and they certainly caused chaos. They actually ended up killing one of the Nkuhuma lionesses. Now, we don't know what the reason behind that was, but there is a chance that it was because she was trying to defend her sub-adult cubs, or not even her sub-adult cubs, but the sub-adult cubs that belonged to the pride. And unfortunately, one of those little female sub-adult cubs was actually killed. So the mother does try and defend her babies. Unfortunately, she is just no match for a male. Now, she might be okay. She might just be able to fend off one male, if it's just one male. But any more than that, and she is really going to struggle. And she won't be able to keep her little ones out of harm's way. Sometimes what happens is the most incredible thing that lionesses do. If let's say we have a pride takeover now, the rest of the Nkuhuma lionesses will go into false estrus and they will attempt to distract the males. Sometimes even the mother of young cubs attempts to mate with the males in order to distract them from her little cubs, and she'll try and escape, moving the cubs into a safer area. So they really do try. They try their absolute best, and that in a way is what makes it even more heartbreaking when it does occur. Of course, the last time I saw cubs of this age was the Styx cubs from last year. And on my interview drive, I actually hooted at them by mistake, which, as you can imagine how my heart sank at that moment. It was totally accidental. And as most of you know, we lost that little set of cubs. It is tremendously sad when it does happen. Oh, something's being stalked. I think either sibling or mom is being stalked here. Oh, distraction. Actually, I might just lie down. Might just lie down and go to sleep. Alright guys, as you know, on Maggie the Makeshift Mahindra, I do have to have my game drive channel on. I don't have an option of feeding it through my earpiece as we do in the other vehicles. I do have to just listen to the game drive channel, especially if there are people who are interested in coming to join this sighting. There we go. For example, I think Bernie would very much like to come and join us. Let's just wait and see. There we go. So Bernie is just getting an update from Taxon, and it doesn't sound as though he's going to come and join us here. Just so that you know, there's an update on Brent. He's off the vehicle, presumably attempting to find quarantine for you all. I guess quarantine disappeared. I think what we are going to do is once Brent is back on the vehicle, then we'll reposition. We'll stay here for now, but just because it's quite a tricky spot to get into and out of. So we'll stay here for now. We've got this adorable little cub. Hey? How's your view there, Brian? Not see it at all. Sort of. It's very difficult for me because I'm so used to where the camera sits on Wendy and Rusty and so on. Very difficult for me to gauge exactly what it is that Brian's seeing. And what I think we'll do is we'll try and reposition. We'll try and get to the other side, see if there's not a view from there. Otherwise, we will come back. We'll go do a quick loop of Buffelshoek Dam and then come back here. We'll make as much use of this sighting as we possibly can. Alright, I'm going to send you back across to Cheetah Plains. Brent is back on the vehicle. Let us find out what he was looking for and whether or not he had any luck in finding it.
So, I'm making the cameraman do the work. I've got a... Here we go.
Brent got us stuck.
I got stuck on a stick and Jean-Andre's trying to pull it out. There we go. Well done, Jean-Andre. Unfortunately, Mr. Q gave us a serious runaround and went into the impenetrable thickets in between two roads. Now, I've just had a quick walk and I've got his tracks. And I'm just trying to get back to a road at the moment. He has taken us to some very beautiful areas that would definitely be ideally viewed on foot, I think. Some magnificent trees. There we go. I think, yes, we found a road. So his tracks are going that way, but I can't get through the river. Yeah, so we're gonna go. We're gonna go this way around, I think. Okay. So we're moving relatively quickly. Now there were some kudu. Car feels fine. No, I'm joking. It's fine. Okay, so the guys are just trying to find me, and I think they're one road over. But let's try So he was heading sort of southwest, so we're going to jump around onto the Marlin boundary and then come back up the road on the other side. Okay, here we go. Okay, there we go. And James Richards wondering about if quarantine were to make a kill and Siobhan Milan still be in that area, would that create conflict? Very much so, James. And what would probably happen is Siobhan Milan would just take it from quarantine. Now, unfortunately, where I am now, I'm about to disappear into a very, you might lose me for a second or two. We're going to just jump on with Jamie. We'll be up and out in 2 ticks. So signal. See Jamie.
As you can tell, it seems as though Brent lost signal sooner than expected, and it's absolutely impossible for us to have signal absolutely everywhere. I have no idea what that update was. There was an update about Karula's tracks, but I have no idea where exactly they were found, so I'm going to chat to Aubrey in a moment. Okay, let's try and shuffle our way around. You can hear Brent chatting to Mike. I think he's getting some reinforcements to help him to look for quarantine. You okay there, Brian? You're about to get smacked by guarri bushes. You good? There we go. All made our way out, and we'll come back and have a look at this lioness a little bit later, see if we can't see her more clearly if she moves out into the open. Now, she's got 3 little babies, and there is one more Nkuhuma that looks exceptionally pregnant, to the point that Aubrey is now convinced that she will have had cubs as well. So Raisa, who's a little bit confused about the number of Styx lionesses with cubs and Nkuhumas with cubs, and that looks like it belongs to us. Well spotted, Brian. There is a bungee cord in a wachabiki tree. Do you want me to go backward a bit, Brian? You got it. Well done. Look at this. That's definitely one of ours. And it was hooked up in a buffalo thorn. Either from this morning. Must have been from this morning. It definitely wasn't from us. Well spotted, Brian. Sorry, Raisa. So, an update on the Styx and the Nkuhuma cubs. I'm afraid to tell you that I'm not 100% sure exactly how many cubs the Styx have at this point. I do know that 3 of them have new babies, or relatively new babies, some of which we've seen before, some of which we haven't yet encountered. So the Styx, 3 of the females have little ones. My mic doesn't want to stay in its place. Oh, goodness, full of drama this afternoon. But initially, as far as I knew, it was 11 cubs. Whether or not all 11 have survived, I heard a rumor about one of them being killed, but I'm not 100% sure if that's confirmed. But they did at least start off with 11 little cubs. That may be a slightly smaller number now. And then we've got the Nkuhumas with one, obviously, one confirmed with cubs, and then there we go. And then the fact, or then the other female that's been looking incredibly pregnant. When we last saw her, she was feeding on a buffalo carcass, and she was so voraciously hungry that she wouldn't even let the other young lioness anywhere near that particular carcass to feed. It looks as though she's probably going to have cubs as well, but they haven't been found, and we don't obviously therefore know how many she's had. Aubrey thinks she's somewhere here as well, with the current set of cubs that we've seen. he seems to be under that impression. It certainly wouldn't surprise me the number of nkuhumas, or at least the number of days that the nkuhumas have been hanging around Djuma, even if they're not the pregnant lioness or the mother. So Amber Eyes has been here, the young female's been around here. I think that there's a very good chance she's going to den here as well. So exciting prospects for our lion dynamics. And yes, absolutely, to Robin B, and welcome to the Sunset Safari. Thank you so much for sending us through your question. Yes, absolutely, the females will leave the pride to protect their cubs. They'll do that initially anyway, regardless of what's happening, when the cubs are brand new. So they'll have their newborn cubs away from the pride, and they'll keep them away from the rest of the pride for about 6 or so weeks, until they are big enough and strong enough to keep up with the rest of the pride, and also not to be bullied or with their lives endangered by any older cousins. So any cubs that have been born earlier that are now getting bigger and stronger and are very playful, but it might be a bit too boisterous for brand new little cubs. Oh, very bumpy. So then the lioness will actually separate them from the rest of the pride. And then from there, she will, if there is a takeover, if a male coalition comes in and is attempting to kill her cubs or attempting to find and kill her cubs, there are lots and lots of recorded cases of a female breaking away and taking her little cubs with her. And that's actually where the Salala breakaway pride came from, also known as the Mangeni pride, but it was originally the Salala pride of Londolozi. And that actually resulted from, during a male takeover, a female took the cubs and kept them safe and raised them, and then they had their own cubs. She ended up going back to the original pride that she'd come from, but all of the cubs that she had raised stayed on their own and formed the Mangeni pride. So it definitely does happen. False alarm. False alarm. While we race off towards Buffelshoek Dam to see what's happening at the waterhole, let's find out how Brent's search for quarantine is going.
Mr. Quarantine is still giving us the runaround. I'm just trying to check. If he hasn't crossed this road, he's still in this really thick area. So checking very, very carefully. So the last tracks I had when I had my walk were here, so he must be that side. Okay, let's turn around. We just wanted to make sure he didn't double back on us. So the last place we saw him for sure was just above this greenthorn, running down the drainage line like that. So he's here somewhere. And we're not going to miss tracks of him on this lovely soft sand. So let's go back. And there was a nice elephant path that went down towards the drainage. Okay. Oh. Okay, so we're gonna go a little bit further on. I'm gonna stop and listen. There might be some alarm calls. Jean-Andre is scanning intently, and also with quarantine, we've got to check all the termite mounds. He loves a good termite mound. The last visual was here. I think he's further down. I think we were too soon. I think he's actually... What is that noise? You hear it? Okay. Okay, so let's go. There's some big termite mounds down there. Hi, Eugene. Eugene's in North Carolina, and oh, probably over a year ago, we watched Quarantine. Oh, sorry, not Eugene, it is Gene, sorry. Gene, sorry about that. And it was a guinea fowl that he leapt high into the sky to try grab. And now there's dwarf mongoose there, and they weren't alarm calling. Which means he's probably further upstream, or he's crossed again. There were some kudu around. I haven't heard that distinct bark of a kudu. But while we've got these dwarf mongoose, I'm not going to go too close to these ones. They live nowhere near a road, so they're probably not too used to cars. But it gives us a chance to listen for a second. Enjoying the sunlight. Oh, big group of them. So dwarf mongoose will often bask in the early morning and late afternoon before retiring. Very important times for their social grooming. Aren't they just too cute? I'm just going to be on the game drive radio for a second. Andres. Andres, the last visual I had is where that greenthorn is opposite you. But you went down to the Shkova and I can't cross. I'm trying to just see if I can see him from here. I'm just standing by here to see if he pops out, but I can't get him over in there. He's crossed through the Shkova again, I think. FM. So we're just listening. And, oh, sorry, FM's calling me. And so what we're saying there is, look at all these mongoose, aren't they just wonderful? There we go. So Andres is also coming to help us look for Quarantine. And so have a quick chat with him. So you see just above where that greenthorn is there, he was coming straight down the Shkova and then I tried to come around and I've lost him. I don't know if he's crossed. I don't know if I'm going to go around to the other side again. But everyone is trying to find Quarantine at the moment, but Annie would like to know what the collective noun or plural is for mongoose, and it's one of my favorites. It's a business of mongoose. Oh, what was that? No, it was a piece of grass. I suddenly thought I saw Mr. Q. Now, Andres is going to go through the drainage line here. Jean and I have had our fair share of drainage lining so far, so we're going to keep slightly to the west and see if we can find him. If we have no luck, I think I'm going to go see if we can track Shavamba line. Okay, so while we get out of here and head back towards the road again, let's go see what Jamie's up to.
So while Brent attempts to relocate the road in order to drive along it, we are almost at Buffelshoek Dam, which incidentally is one of the favorite spots of the Nkuhuma Pride, and I'm on the lookout for any of the remaining members, the other 4 lionesses that might be around here. Now last night we finished off the sunset safari watching Amber Eyes, one of the older females of the Nkuhuma Pride, not mating with one of the Birmingham boys. She's come out of her estrus cycle. She was in fact desperately trying to get away from him. Now I didn't actually tell you that at the end of the sunset safari we were trying to follow them, and it was only once we'd finished the show and we'd closed down for the day that Brian and myself actually stumbled across them. They were, well, she was racing, he was racing in hot pursuit, but she was positively sprinting to try and get away from him. He just didn't quite get the message that he wasn't going to get lucky anymore. She was finished her estrus cycle, and I think she was just unlucky in that she'd started off mating with Blondie, the oldest of the Birmingham boys, the oldest of the male coalition, and a second Birmingham boy had taken over where he left off. So he was still full of energy and prepared for mating. She just wanted to be done and to find some food. She was clearly really hungry, very empty-bellied. And from what I understand, their tracks crossed to the north of our traverse area into Buffelshoek. Also, just another update for you. I mentioned that I couldn't hear the sound of the Game Drive channel. I knew that they'd found Karula's tracks. She's crossed south into Little Gowrie, which could well mean that she is on her way to fetch her cubs. When we last saw her, she was hunting in the drainage line system around the lodges. So it might be that she's made a kill. Chances are she has. She's a very successful leopardess, and she's probably gone back to fetch her little ones, or at least I hope that's the case. Otherwise, she's just going south to check on them. So whilst we don't have an update for you on the cubs or whether or not we've seen them, we do know that she's most likely going back to them now. So that is where Karula has gone. And hopefully she will decide to bring the newest princess and prince back onto our traverse area once again. Amazing. If she did bring them back, then we would have seen, just today, we would have seen 4 of Karula's offspring. Shimbambalana, the male that was arguing with Quarantine obviously from the Sunset Safari, and then her 2 newest members, her 2 newest cubs. We're almost at Buffelshoek Dam as Maggie creaks and groans her way over all of the bumps. Definitely not a quiet vehicle. And let us... Oh, I have a lovely surprise for you. I knew that he could do it, and indeed he did. Let us go back to Brent and Quarantine. Quarantine? Maybe.
Well, there he is. After a serious run around, he's popped up and is sleeping atop a termite mound. Yeah, busy day. Now, he has walked literally not on one road since we followed him. He's crossed 4 different roads. Oh, isn't he gorgeous? Look at that lovely late afternoon light. He's enjoying a little bit of a bask. And he's about 100 meters, no, not even, from where those dwarf mongoose were basking. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. Now I know he's a firm favorite of many of our SafariLIVE fans. And you can see there's little scratches on his nose. Now those could be from a tangle with his older brother Shivambalan, or it could be from chasing an animal through the bush. Michelle in New Jersey says, did he learn how to lose a vehicle from his mom? Well, Michelle, I think he didn't try to lose us. He was actually trying to chase something. And of course, he can move through the bush much faster than we can. Hi, Pierre in Australia, and Pierre's wondering if there's a difference between leopard and cheetah spots. There most certainly is. As you can have a look at leopards, leopards have rosettes. And so it's a sort of a triangle, sometimes 4 spots around a sort of lighter spot in the middle, whereas a cheetah has just spots. So a true sort of single black spot. I do have a picture of a cheetah somewhere, but while I look for my picture of a cheetah and Quarantine takes a snooze, Jamie's got some elephants playing in the dirt.
Oh, there we go. We have some elephants at Buffelshoek Dam. I'm just listening to an update. I was just chatting to the wonderful Herbert, who is guiding this afternoon. He is driving some landowners around, so he wanted to just get an update on those position of those lions. As our Ellies disappear off towards the north, we'll try and see if we can't catch up with them. Well, there you go. This is for Gracie, this elephant sighting, and Gracie, I promise you I will try and get us a little bit closer. Gracie would like us to find her some elephants, because she's not having a very good day, and elephants, I know from experience, definitely make Gracie feel a little bit better. So Gracie, this is for you, this is your elephant sighting, and I hope that it helps a little bit. I'm going to try and get you closer in a moment, but for now we're going to just have a look across Buffelshoek Dam before we sneak up a bit. There's also Bob the Bachelor, Gracie. Bob the Bachelor is at Buffelshoek Dam as well. And look at that, Bob has a friend. Can you see the friend on Bob the Bachelor of Buffelshoek? Can you see the friend that he has on his back? He's got a terrapin buddy. And go and have some supper. Gracie, I haven't seen Princess Daisy in a while. Princess Daisy was named by Gracie. It was the female hippo that was often in Buffelshoek Dam. I haven't seen Princess Daisy, but I think that's because Princess Daisy is very clever, and she's gone off to find a deeper dam to call her home. The 2 very large animals hanging out in the winter's evening sunlight. Okay, let's go and get a bit closer to those elephants for Gracie. See if we can't enjoy a little bit of a sighting with them. And while we do that, while we get a bit closer, let's go back to Brent and his leopard.
Oh, he's having a good snooze now. He's had a busy afternoon so far. So he's probably going to rest up a little bit now till it's a little bit darker. And then he might, just might, head off on the hunt again. Look at that. And just enjoying the last afternoon rays. And it is a beautiful late winter's evening. And the temperature has just been spectacular today. A bit windy, but nothing too bad. Isn't that very, very interesting? So Quarantine's having a snooze. Genre is giving you a lovely view of his body. While Genre was doing that, I found something else that's quite close to us. And not too common in the Sabi Sands, what I've found. And I'm going to ask Chandra to show it to you. We've got a common spike thorn to the right of us here. and it's got lots of, actually, it's got multiple different species of lichen growing on it. But the one I'm most interested in is, if we zoom, you see which one I'm looking at, Jean-Andre? It's so difficult. So there's a lichen, but that's not the one. And you can see that beautiful lichen growing on it. Now this seems to have a lot of lichen. Now if we come out a little bit, I think it's there. No, it's not. Okay, let's come out. Okay, now let me just have a look in lower there. So it even, look at that. Now that's lichen and a spider web. Isn't that incredible? So absolutely amazing. I thought it was old man's beard, but now with the super zoom in the camera, I can actually see it's not what I thought it was. It's actually spider webs. Aren't they just so delicate and so beautiful? Oh, heads up. Mr. Q. Here we go. Beautiful boy. Well, isn't it just wonderful? Just take a moment, sit in silence, and just look at the incredible beauty that is a male leopard. And we've been spoilt today with leopards, and lions for that matter. Stunning. Remember, screenshots, use the hashtag SafariLIVE if you're going to share your screenshots on Twitter. Otherwise, pop them on our Facebook page, which is SafariLIVE. Now, while he sits majestically atop the termite area, let's do a little quiz. So I think I got a good one for you, and it's a leopard quiz, since we're sitting with a leopard. And I would like to know, so we're not talking about sort of clouded leopards and snow leopards, but sort of this sort of clade of leopards, like the leopard we have here and in India. But which subspecies of the leopard is the most endangered, and where does it occur? If you know which of the leopard subspecies is the most endangered, or flat cat, and you know where they occur, please let me know. Use the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter, or drop me an email, questions@wildearth.tv. But while we go try and maneuver around to the other side of Mr. Q's head, let's go to Jamie, who's still with some ellies.
While Brent maneuvers around, we are still with our elephant herd, although unfortunately they do keep moving off. Again, it's a bit breezy this afternoon, which is making them somewhat nervous. As most of you know by now that elephants really aren't big fans of wind. So I've been trying to get a little bit closer, but I think this is going to be the best view that we've got for now. As the little one wanders off towards Mum. So Gracie, I promise I'm going to keep looking for a nice elephant sighting for you. I'm sorry you're not feeling great, sweetie, but I hope that these elephants make you feel a little bit better and bring a smile to your face. Unfortunately, they are making life a little bit tricky and they're moving off. But can you see that huge tree shaking? The big marula tree that is silhouetted. That it was vibrating, and I could hear the rough scraping of the adult female's skin as she scratched an itch on the rough bark of the tree. And that's why the tree was shaking. It's not that she wants to pull it down. The marula trees are completely free of leaves at present. So it was more just because it was a very convenient rubbing post. And I think that means the end of our elephant sighting for now. but we're still going to try and see if we can't find more elephants. We've been incredibly lucky recently, of course, because Djuma and Arathusa and Cheetah Plains have just been full of ellies, and there are lots more to anticipate in future because they're going to start moving from the Kruger National Park in the east to the east of us. They're going to start moving in our direction to search for water as the dry season continues. So let's go and look for more elephants, for any elephants that we can find. Sorry, Herbert's trying to contact. Standing by.
Jimmy, I'm now in the area. Is it on the eastern side of the cover or right in the middle of the cover?
They're in the middle, but I think your best view is going to be from the eastern side of the Skova. So that's where we approach from. You'll see the off-road tracks leading from Central Road, and if you follow them in, there's a little termite mound that you go over, and then you've got the best possible chance of seeing them. Alright, while I chat to Herbert, let's send you, I think that's what Kirsty's asking me. Unfortunately, my comms just went a bit funny there, but I think we're going to send you back over to Brent and his leopard.
Well, unfortunately, all we've got is a back view of Mr. Quarantine for the moment. We weren't quite able to maneuver around to the other side as well as I would have liked, and you can definitely see he is a boy. Andre thought that was quite funny. He's giggling now. Very childish, Andre. So if we have a look at the base, the top of his tail, the base of his tail, sort of. Now, if you follow his tail up, Quarantine's got a very distinct spot pattern as his tail becomes to his back. You can't really see it there, but you can see there's almost like a row of three very symmetrical rosettes. It's almost like a landing strip on his back. And a very, very distinct feature about Mr. Q. Ah, yes. I nearly forgot. Up here in Australia, I wanted to show you what a cheetah spot looks like. I just need to open up my photos. Now, where would I find a picture of a cheetah? I'm sure I've taken a few over the years. I'm just trying to think which album would be the best one. So I'm just going to find the picture for you. So I'm sure you'd much rather look at Mr. Q. Where? Oh dear. And you can hear the grey go-away bird in the distance. Oh dear, I think I can't find a picture of a cheetah. This is ridiculous. So I'll have to cheat and I'll have to go to my mammal app. It's not my picture and it's a little bit pixelated, but it'll do. Where do you want it, genre? It's good. So there we go. You can see a solid spots as opposed to those rosettes of a leopard. Oh, lots of dust on my screen there. Do you have a cloth for me, genre? Why, thank you. See, it is very dusty at the moment, so let's give it a bit of a clean. That should make it a little bit easier to see. There we go. That looks a bit better. Very pixelated, I'm afraid. But there we go. That's a cheetah, so solid spots as opposed to rosettes. Now, unfortunately, that was quite cool colour. Unfortunately, when we tried to move around this way, we went black screen, but we want to show you a hole. Hopefully, we don't lose signal. But it is quite an impressive hole. It doesn't look like anyone's in residence at the moment. I can't really see any fresh tracks, but look at that. So, originally dug by an art farm, now probably Oh, see the dust from my car. We're not about to be attacked by a warthog. There to be any fresh movement in there. You can actually see there's bat and bird droppings, and birds will go inside to feed off different things. What have you found, John? A dark corner. But bats will actually roost inside these termite mounds. Okay, I'm going to try go forward a bit so we can have a look at Mr. Q. I just want to... There we go. Well done to Natalia, Krug, Raisa and many others who got that question spot on. It is indeed the Ama leopard that occurs in Russia and China is the most endangered of the leopard subspecies. Now, unfortunately, instead of the back view, we do have a front view of the top of his head, and we're sitting at quite a precarious angle here. Just enjoying that last late afternoon light. Isn't that just stunning? Now, as Jean-Ray zooms out, you can see why leopards are so fond of termite mounds. Now, you can see how he just melts into the termite mound, and it gives him a nice high position to see any potential prey species, as well as the chance to possibly see any potential threats. Okay, I just need to be on the radio for a second. If there's a much better access if you go where Andries is going. So if you, from where you see the movers, just head a little bit south down the Shkova and you'll see where we crossed. Yes, we forgot to tell Mike about the other crossing, so he went through some real thick bush to get here. Look at that. So he's not moving. I think it is worth staying here, but if anyone would like to go have a quick look what else is happening at Cheetah Plains, let me know if you want to stay or you would like to go. Let me know by using the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter or sending us an email. Should we stay or should we go? I'm just going to move forward a bit while I duck through the bushes. Let's go to Jamie, who's hopefully got an animal that's not hiding in them.
No such luck, I'm afraid. We've got a very big animal that is hiding behind the bush, and I'm sorry, we're going to actually leave our buffalo bull for now, even though he has presented himself so beautifully, because the elephants are about to come out into the open, and we should be able to get a nice, clear view of them. So sorry, buffalo bull, as wonderful as you are, we're going to leave you for now and go and catch up with the Ellies. I've just been watching them out of the corner of my eye. I have to pay so much more attention. I've got really used to driving our short vehicles, and one forgets how to drive a much longer piece of machinery, such as Maggie the Mahindra. She's just big boned. Like our elephants, actually, that we're about to go and see. Oh. And bump our way subtly, make a very slow and measured approach. It's better to have the engine on, because I think the squeaking of Maggie's suspension might cause them a little bit of distress if we didn't. Hello, guys. Hi. Can we come say hello? Hmm? You know, come across the road. It's our little herd from earlier. They were obviously on a mission to get here. Here we go. Hello, little one. It's okay, big girl. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's okay. Oh, there we are. A much clearer elephant sighting for Gracie and for all of you out there that love our massive pachyderms. It sounds as though, just by the way, listening to the Game Drive channel, that the lions have moved a little bit. Herbert can't seem to find them. But what we will do is, when we're done with these Ellies, we're going to head back and see if we can't give them a hand. A small herd of elephants, one large female, and then most likely her daughter, or maybe a sister, and then her calves as well. Ah, there we go. They've managed to find the cubs. Okay, we don't have to rush off just yet. And there's not much that is more peaceful than elephants having a quick snack. Now, I don't know that you could hear that, but that gentle rumbling is one of my favorite sounds in the whole wide world. That deep, bassy call that elephants use to talk to each other, to communicate with each other. It was a bit wasteful, girl. A mouthful of leaves that you just dropped out. Don't you know we're in a drought? See that movement? The way she's bobbing her head. And that's very typical of an upset elephant, but in this case it's not because she's upset, it was because she was walking downhill. Oh, here comes the little one. Little one's going to come across the road. Wait for me, Mommy. There's something big and scary. Hello. Hello. With your giant ears. Are you cute? Are you just too precious? Yes. Hey, little girl. Hi, guys. You're keeping a close eye on us, don't worry. Another young female moving off to join the matriarch of her little herd. Such a beautiful sighting. Right, well, we need to do some rebooting to get rid of the freeze framing that's happening on your screen. So while we do that, let's go back over to Brent on Cheetah Plains. Hello, little boy.
As you can see, Mr. Q has not moved a muscle, apart from the odd ear twitch, and he's very well hidden on top of his termitaria. But we're going to go start making our way towards the open areas of Cheetah Plains and see what we can find there. Who knows, we might have some cheetah luck. And there we go. Liz says, I'd love to stay, but what if they're a cheetah on Cheetah Plains? So we're going to go find out. How we're going to find out is quite interesting. We've managed to get ourselves into quite the precarious spot. But that's, ooh, we're not full. There's quite a big hole behind us. Okay, there we go. Oops-a-daisy. Now it's incredible what angles you can actually take these vehicles to. You can actually take them to about 45 degrees on the side. But while I terrify Jean-Andre, I don't want to terrify you. So let's go back to Jamie and the elephants.
While Brent terrifies Jean-Andre for some reason, we're making sure that we don't do the same thing to the elephants, although this little boy, who is the straggler of the group, he attempted to do that at one point to us, giving us his biggest, baddest I'm an elephant impression. Ears out and head up. But he's now completely relaxed and enjoying a quick snack before the rest of the herd moves off into Buffelshoek, the property to the north of our Traverse area. And hello to Charlotte in Port Elizabeth, who'd like to know about how elephant herds are formed, and which is a very good question because We always think of them as sort of forever being in existence, but that's not necessarily the case. Although they will, of course. I mean, elephant herds would have carried their genetic line for hundreds and hundreds of years, with elephants staying mostly, I mean, the females generally, almost always, staying in the same herd their entire life. What sometimes happens is if the elephant herd gets a little bit big, or maybe there are restrictions in terms of access to food or water, occasionally you get an elephant herd split. So one female will move off on her own, well, or at least she'll initiate the movement, and what will often happen is her oldest daughter, or a couple of her offspring, will come with her, because of course as tight as the bonds are between different herd members, the one between mom and calf is one of the strongest that exists out here in the African bush. So that's how what it usually is. A new herd is formed by a split from another herd that maybe got a bit too large. Perhaps there was just some confusion over where to go, and you've got two very dominant female personalities, so they split up in different directions. And then of course we've got the short-trunked elephant that we've seen before. I'm going to try and reverse just to make life a little bit easier, although I think our elephant sighting is nearly over. But our short-trunked elephant that we've got to know and love, I think that she formed her herd, or she split from the herd because of that injury, because of the snared trunk, because it maybe made her a little bit slower in terms of feeding. Perhaps she couldn't quite keep up. She needed longer to stop and feed, and that I think is why, that might be our best view, and that I think is why she actually ended up splitting away from the herd and then forming her own herd. And James told me something incredible, something I had never heard of before, and that was that he saw a bull elephant acting protectively over a little herd, with what he said was very clearly a young and quite inexperienced mother and her brand new calf that was all alone, and this male elephant was acting in an almost matriarchal way, or the way that a female elephant would, which I find absolutely astounding, and it just goes to show just how incredibly complex these animals truly are, and how wonderful, and also how little we actually know about what goes on in their day-to-day lives. Very special story, that. Now, Charlotte, on a different subject, whether or not elephant herds ever clash. No, elephants have this incredibly wonderful social structure, and their parts of their brains devoted to their social life and emotional development are exceptionally well developed. They're not territorial. They have home ranges. Sometimes there might be a little bit of conflict between individual members of the herd if they meet up at the waterhole or something similar. But there's a good chance that herds in this area are distantly related to each other as well. So when they meet up, it's usually a friendly greeting. You can actually see that the elephants know each other. They'll go up and they'll sniff each other's temporal glands. It's very special when two elephant herds meet after a separation. And I've seen them do it before where I was sitting looking over the Crocodile River in the south of Kruger, and I watched two elephant herds sprint towards each other from opposite directions, racing to go and say hello, and then greeting with lots of trunks. What they often do to elephants when they greet, they flop their trunks over the other elephant's head and then put the tip of it against that temporal gland that plays such an important role in communication. A really special moment, and you could very clearly see the excitement. And what often happens as well is you get the little teenage boys, the young elephant bulls that are part of the herd and very playful, and they seem to get especially excited because it's clear they have what we would think of as friends in other herds, and they go racing off towards each other whenever they encounter each other. Excuse me. Oof. I got overexcited there about elephant friendships. Oh, there we go. I think that's done. Try and clear that from my throat. Brian very kindly panning up to the sky to avoid focusing in on my now watering eyes. Okay, I'm under control. I have regained control over my lungs and my trachea and my larynx, and we seem to be good to go. I can't even remember. Oh, elephant friendships. Yes, you can see the little bulls racing to join their friends, and or at least what we would think of as friends. They're really special societies that elephants create for themselves. The only time they really come into conflict is when elephant males are involved, particularly when they're being a little bit too pushy. Well, since our ellies have almost completely disappeared into Buffelshoek, and I would very much like to have a good solid cough in order to dislodge the foreign object that has placed itself somewhere around the region of my larynx. So while I try and do that, let's go across to Brent for an update on cheetah plains.
So we're on the southern boundary heading east towards those vast open areas, and there's definitely a little nip in the air. Although Jeandre is so tough, he's even his shirt sleeves still rolled up and his shorts on. Now our camera department is probably a bit tougher than us presenters when it comes to the cold. I mean, they got to sit up there in, especially Brian. Yes, no, Brian takes the presenter outlook on being cold, and it's not very nice. And so we believe in layering extensively. I'm going to add, yes, the genre says Cape Town makes him tough. I think it just made you strong smelling. But anyway, so there's always a good chance of seeing those cheetah boys around here. We have seen them a couple of times on this clearing just to the south of me. I'm just going to amble on slowly. It is that time of the day when crepuscular animals like cheetah like to hunt. And this is the first sort of set of clearings, and the first time I actually ever saw cheetah was here. I'm going to check a little bit carefully. Now, when they're lying down, they're actually quite difficult to spot because they lie very, very flat, and they're quite skinny cats. But they often just pop their head up to have a look around, and sometimes when their head is up, it sort of resembles elephant dung in the distance. Have you ever seen moving elephant dung on an open plain? It's quite often a cheetah's head. Oh dear, using things. There we go, all attached. It is just an absolutely gloriously beautiful winter's evening. I mean, just look at that light. We're in the shade at the moment, but we're going to pop up into that light now. Hi, Aaron, from the land of the long white cloud in New Zealand. And, oh, sorry, Franklin, got a bit of a fright there. Didn't mean to. She's looking a little bit put out. There she goes. How dare you drive near me? Oh, crested Franklin. Sorry, Aaron. Sidetrack there. She scooted out from almost under our wheel. Very pretty little birds, the crested Franklins. Now, Aaron, I'll get back to your question in a second. She's digging in some very old elephant dung, and probably looking for termites that are in there eating the dung already. Oh, you know, you don't want to be a termite when this crested Franklin's around. And the reason I say she, just give me a second, wait till we see her feet. Here we go. The males have a very pronounced fighting spur that sticks out of the back of their legs. That's how I know that this is not a he but a she. Other than that, in terms of color and markings, they are identical. Yum, 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 yum. Lots of protein in those termites. You can see she's got there we go. You saw the spur there. But on the females, it's quite small. So on the males, it's very, very pronounced. But we're going to leave her to her dinner of termites and head towards the vast open plains of the cheetah. Now Aaron, speaking of cheetah, Aaron would like to know where's the largest population of cheetah in South Africa? We're sitting in it, Aaron. The Greater Kruger National Park is the largest meta-population of cheetah in Africa, believe it or not. Everyone often thinks it's got to be the Serengeti or the Masai Mara, but it is not. It is the mixed woodland and open grasslands of the Greater Kruger National Park. Now, the Kruger is a very important meta-population for quite a few of our iconic species. In South Africa, it's also the largest population of wild dogs, and the largest population of lions, largest population of leopards, largest population of elephants, largest population about pretty much everything except springbok and eland, and gemsbok, of course, the desert dwellers. But most of your general game and big predators and big five, the Kruger is the sort of stronghold in South Africa for all those creatures. Okay, so we're about to appear into the open plains. Jean-Ray, what's going to be there? Jean-Ray is going with the obtuse and says honey badger. Kirsten in final control says ostrich. I say gnomless gnomen the gnu. Taking it safe. But I am hoping that there is a honey badger, an ostrich, and a gnomless gnomen, and possibly a cheetah. Louise says pangolin. Yes, Louise, that's pushing it a little. I mean, we've only seen it once so far, but you never know what could be on the open plains of the cheetah. Maybe we will see a pangolin, a cheetah, an aardvark, all in a cuddle bundle, but it's highly unlikely. Okay, engine off. I'm going to idle in stealth mode. I can't see anything. That's quite sad, not even gnomon. Wait, is that it? Log. Is it? No, it is a log. Just have a quick look at that dam wall there for me, Jean-Ray. I just saw some movement beyond it. Alas. Wait there, wait, go back, to the right, to the right, to the right. Under the tree? To the left of the tree. It's a log. It's a log. No, go back, zoom again, zoom again. Ah, it's a tricky log. Sneaky log. Darn, I thought I'd made a miraculous cheetah spot from there. Ah, well, anyway. Or maybe they'll be on our side. Let's go look on the next open section. But it is, the open plain is devoid of any mammalian life so far. Oh no, I see something alive. So, Aaron is hoping for a sable, well, Aaron, me too, and James Richard a giraffe. Let's know, we wouldn't mind a giraffe now. I think the only living creature I've spotted, we have to get a bit closer to it because it's quite small. There's a steenbok in the distance there. Alas, just a steenbokkie. Gnomless must be visiting girlfriends on the other side of the clearing. Or he's gone for a drink, one of the two. So there is the only living creature I can spot on the vast open plains. And it is a little steenbokkie. Gorgeous little creature. And while we watch our dear steenbok depart, let's go see what Jamie's been up to.
those guesses about what would be on Cheetah Plains clearing, and it turned out to be one Steenbok relatively far away. And as Kirsty described, I think she said there was also one log. There are quite a few logs on the Cheetah Plains clearing. It's good to know that they are still there, present and accounted for. Now, in the meantime, the lion cub sighting is currently occupied by 2 vehicles who are waiting to see if the lions come out into the open. And so, since we're going to give them a chance to spend a little bit of time with those wonderful cubs, we are heading off in search of a different kind of baby animal. Sorry, I'm still suffering from my minor choking experience. We are heading across to the hyena den, just to see whether or not, before it gets dark, there's any sign of the hyena named Gwen and her little babies. And hopefully they are still in the vicinity. The one thing I will say is that I haven't seen tracks coming south north along the road, and I do wonder whether the presence of the lions might not have prompted her to move those cubs elsewhere. But we don't know yet, so let us go and investigate, see if anybody's home. We've timed it perfectly, since the early evening is the best time, along with the early morning, to have a chance of seeing little hyena cubs. Nope, no tracks, and I don't think... No, this is ridiculous, sorry. I think if I'm getting ill, I blame Geraldine. And Geraldine Kent came back from her leave cycle carrying some version of the plague. So if I'm ill, Jerry... No, I don't think Jerry's watching, but if I'm ill, Jerry, you are to blame. All the evidence points in your direction. I don't think I'm ill, though. I think I'm absolutely fine. I just, to be completely honest, choked over my own saliva, and I'm now struggling to right myself. Oh, maneuvering Maggie. Oopsie daisy. Whoopsie. A bit too far, Maggie. And yes, Constantine, absolutely. Constantine is watching all the way in Germany, and while we growl our way towards the hyena den, if we could use electric cars ideally, then yes, I think that we absolutely would. If technology got to the point, if our finances perhaps as well got to the point where we could use electric cars or an alternative means of transportation, then yes, absolutely, I believe that we would. Much quieter, much less impact on the environment. Oh dear. It's not looking positive, everybody. It's looking very quiet. And I don't want to hit... I don't have any flexibility with the bushwalk backpack. So I don't know how far we're going to be able to squeeze before I knock it. Oh, 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 oh. Well done, Brian. Thank you. But it was all for nothing. Well, not for nothing, but pretty much for nothing, because there's nothing here. Which, as I said, I had a suspicion that might be the case. But it's not confirmed, because look at the marks running down underneath the entrance to the den. There's tracks in the soil there. I'm not sure how clearly you can see them from your perspective. But just have a look at those. Could be drag marks of some description, or it could be little cubs tumbling down the side of the den, which does happen. We've seen it before. They're not at their most highly coordinated at this very tender age of a couple of weeks old. Their back legs get a bit wobbly. They're not quite so good at walking. So that could actually be signs of a hyena cub tumbling down the side of the den. All is very quiet though. I just don't want to discount, there's another entrance on the southern side. So we're on the west, we're at the western entrance. They're all interconnected. There's some on the northern side. This is the main entrance hole, but there is a beautiful entrance hole on the other side. And I'm just wondering, I think it might be worth shuffling forward just a fraction, to see if we can't see any sign of at least Gwen sitting there. Because we haven't really checked thoroughly that she isn't here. She's definitely not on this side. Okay, it's got a bit overgrown at the moment. But you can't see it from this angle, but there is a hole just underneath the tree that is growing there, the boerbean that's growing there. Somewhere there's a hole, but I don't think that she's home. And I do wonder whether or not she has moved the cubs. There's lots of fresh tracks around. So there's still hope that she's around here somewhere, but might be worth checking up again tomorrow morning on the sunrise safari. First thing in the morning we'll come through and just double check that she hasn't in fact moved. Alright, well in that case we now need to make an attempt at shuffling out of here, and while we do, let's go across to Brent, who has got a lovely view for you.
So this is the lovely view. No, Jeandre and I are arguing about where we should stop to look at the sunset. Jeandre thinks that side's prettier, but because I'm driving, we're going this side. No. Stop it now, Jeandre. So I love a good sunset, but I'm trying to make this a dual function sunset. It also gives us a chance to look at an area we haven't looked at yet. So, and I'm going to get you such a nice marula tree in the sunset. What are you saying into the mic, Jeandre? I'm watching you. There we go. Look at that with a marula tree. Yes, Jeandre. Now Jeandre doesn't want to show you the sunset because it's not his sunset. There we go. There we go. See, mine's better. It's got a tree in it.
I didn't get to show them mine.
Well, you do. Yes, I know mine was better.
There's a branch in the way, bro. There's a branch in the way.
Okay, well, sorry, there's a branch in the way. I'll move slightly so it's framed for you, Jeandre. Are you happy now, Jeandre? So the main reason I wanted to look at the sunset here is so we could check this open area. We are going to start moving towards the Cheetah Plains Pan. I'm wondering if possibly Shavambalan has made his way that side. There were some tracks heading east, so that's quite possibly him. That's terrible, now, there we go. So guys, terrible to have those beautiful and such elegantly designed branches in the shot. Very, very pretty.
You're wobbling your own sunset.
I'm wobbling my sunset. Sorry, I have ants in my pants. Now, it's always good to stop and listen at this time of the evening. Now, if any of you out there have ever been on a safari in Africa, it's at about this time of the evening where the G&Ts get rolled out and the little bar snacks come onto your bonnet and you have a sundowner out in the middle of the bush. But interestingly enough, the origin of the sundowner has nothing to do with having a beverage or having a snack. So when the safari industry was in its infancy, the lions and leopards were not quite what they are today. They were here, but they used to run quite often during the day at the sight or sound of a vehicle. At this time of the day, they would start to get moving. So the guides and trackers would stop, give their guests a drink and a snack. The tracker would normally then go sit off about 50 to 100 meters away from people and listen for alarm calls. And because at this time of the day is when those cats start moving. So that's actually where the original sort of sundowner beverage comes from. It's actually to find big cats. And there we go. Let's go look for some big cats around the Cheetah Plains Pan. And this is not a G, this is for Jeandre. There we go. My sunset was better than your sunset. Now, of course, I think we both would have in agreement if we could have a leopard in the sunset, it would be even better. hi, Naomi, who's in Pretoria, South Africa. And Naomi saying, what happens if you get lost in the bush for days? Well, you only get lost if you've got a sense of direction like Jean-Andre's. If you have a sense of direction like mine, you never get lost. But if you were to be stranded, what was that? I saw an impala through the bush there. Just to go forward a little bit. What was that?
The log.
No, it is an impala.
The log.
Impala. There we go, male impala. Hello, boyo.
The log.
So, yes, Chandra is being a comedian now. There you go, lovely little impala. Now I can only see one. I'm actually sure there's another couple around. Doesn't pay to be a lonely impala, less eyes to spot potential predators, and also greater odds of being caught. They are such graceful antelope. No, sorry, Naomi, sidetracked by the impala. Now, Naomi would like to know how would you know what to eat and where to find water and etc. Now, if you were watching during the Father's Day special, the one place to find water is from fresh elephant dung. You can actually squeeze water out of it, as Steph demonstrated. It was quite funny. As well as, elephants are always a good thing. If you have a good fresh elephant tracks heading in the direction, they are going to drink normally once every 2 days. So if you get on a nice big elephant track, that's a good way to find water. But from in terms of eating, if you're not sure from a fruiting point of view what to eat, not 100% foolproof, but generally a good rule is you can eat what other primates eat. So from a fruiting point of view, if you see baboons or monkeys eating it, it's probably safe for human consumption. Now, the other good thing to eat and very high in protein and quite easy to find, oh, it's nearly dry. It is dry, so it's not nearly dry, it is dry. And very smelly mud. Oof, very smelly. Let's keep going. Well, let's go back to 3 in a row pan. Maybe something's headed towards that fresh water there. Now, sorry, Naomi, so I said termites are a great source of protein and they're all over the place. So your actual biggest danger when you are stranded out in the bush is not food at all. You can happily go 7 to 10 days without eating. You're going to be very uncomfortable and very, very weak, but you can do it. Now, the biggest problem is hello, now this is very confusing, is water. Water. I'm just trying to figure out, there's some leopard tracks here. A little bit, I see, no, these are the ones Ephraim was talking about. Hey, this is where Shavambalan came in from this morning. Yes, they've been driven over. That. Now, your biggest problem is finding water, and that little trick Steph did could actually save your life. I've had a broken down vehicle in northern Botswana before and had to walk about 60 kilometers and with no water, and we actually ended up drinking water that looked not far off that dry pan there. And it tasted mostly, I think I was actually probably drinking mostly elephant urine rather than water, but it kept us going. My dad's actually had to do that on more than one occasion. Now, the most important thing if you are ever stranded in the bush is do not wander around at night. As soon as it gets dark, find a tree, climb in it, and stay there. And that is the most dangerous time for human beings. We give up our dominant diurnal predator status and we become very much part of the food chain. Lions actively hunt people at night, and the other thing is you might stumble into a hippo, a buffalo, an elephant, and you can't see what's going on around you. So that's probably one of the more important rules, is don't wander around in the dark. And if someone says, oh, but it's full moon, yes, that's fine. The lions can see you better to eat. Now, walking around in the dark in the African bush is very, very dangerous. So one of the most important things a guide can own, and it's not a big gun, it's not a nice pair of binoculars, it's not a camera. Possibly one of the most important things a guide should own when you live in the bush permanently is a good torch. That is a very important thing. So even when we walk home at night in a very close proximity from where we park the cars, always torch out, check for buffalo, check for lions, make sure that you are safe and your cameraman is safe. Okay, so we're going to continue checking towards 3 in a row pan. Maybe Shivambalan's still hanging about there. While we do that, let's go see what Jamie's been up to.
And never underestimate the value of a good torch or flashlight. We are currently using a headlamp strapped onto the bar in order to provide us with a little bit of extra light as it starts to get dark. Some bush mechanics going into making Maggie the makeshift broadcast vehicle. I've picked something up to show you because it's something that actually Jerry pointed out to me, and I realized that perhaps we don't talk about this particular plant all that often because we don't see it all that often. It's known as a sandpaper raisin or a square-stemmed raisin leaf. It's very, you can't obviously, until technology advances to the point where we have almost like a scratch and sniff type game drive, you won't be able to get an idea of the texture, but suffice to say, it is very, very rough, hence the name sandpaper raisin, if that needed any further exposition, with its jagged outlines. We've had spoken before, just in terms of survival, about eating raisin bushes, or the raisins of the raisin bushes. They're not actually raisins, it's the fruit. They're pretty tasteless, but they'll provide you with a little bit of nutrients. But what's unique about this tree is the shape of its stem, hence the name square-stemmed raisin bush. Just if that needed any further exposition, it's got a very square shape to it. Very, very square. Now, it's actually used as a form of corporal punishment. Instead of the smacks that perhaps some of us were dealt as children, this is used in a slightly different way. So what happens is, to punish offenders, it is, oh goodness, hold on a moment. I've had experience with this before where I've snapped things and they've broken off into my face. But what basically happens is the offender places their hands together like this, so palm to palm, and the sticks of the raisin bush are placed in between the fingers like that, and then squeezed together. Now, because of the square-stemmed nature, look, it would hurt whatever tree you use, but because of the ridges on the square-stemmed or sandpaper raisin, it's actually what makes it the most uncomfortable. So it is incredibly painful, and I've tried it properly before. I'm not doing it properly now, obviously, but if somebody else then grabs around the hands and squeezes together, and it digs into the knuckles. So basically a form of corporal punishment. As I was snapping it there, just talking about survival and the various aspects that it's used for, a raisin bush stem is quite springy, and it's actually used to create by local people to find food. They actually create traps with it in a piece of string that then fling forward and catch things like spring hares in the desert areas, so in the Kalahari. Spring hare is not something we get here. They're awesome little creatures. They're like if you crossed a kangaroo with a mouse, you'd get a spring hare. Tiny little things, about that tall, with long, very powerful bouncing legs, and they bounce like little kangaroos. I wish we could show you a spring hare out here, but if we do, it would definitely be very lost. Now, luckily, while we continue onwards, it seems as though Brent's trip towards 3-in-a-row pan has been relatively successful, and whilst he hasn't found Shumbambalana, he has found something much larger.
Here we go, Gracie. Gracie is 8 years old, was asking for Ellies. And have some more Ellies for you, Gracie. Hope you're feeling better. Oh, look at that little boy, Argy Bargy. So a little breeding herd, not a very big one. Some naughty boys. Young hooligans. At the back, 2 young boys. They're not very, very relaxed. And I think it's because of the young boys pushing the youngsters around. So we were just talking about survival, and elephant dung that can be squeezed for water is one of those. And Lynn would like to know, what does it taste like? I said, Lynn, you should ask Steph.
Told me oily Jägermeister.
There you go, oily Jägermeister. That sounds disgusting. Oily Jägermeister. So not a very pleasant thing, but it might keep you alive. See, this female is just trying to keep moving away from that young male, keeps pushing her around. And that's why that young female there, those 2 young females are quite agitated. So there we go. That's the little breeding herd, the 2 females, two young ones. And there's this teenage bull, maybe a little bit closer to 20, who's been pushing them around. Oh, thirsty Ellies. Here we go, you can see he's just harassing them a little bit. You can see by their reactions, just trying to keep away from him. He's not really that interested in drinking, he's more interested in harassing and playing, but the others are not so keen on it. Oh, isn't that amazing? We can hear them. The female is just to the right of us now, and she's just at that wonderful low rumble. So they've moved to the other pan to try to get away from the boy. Oh, look at that with the reflection. Stunning. And see, that little one's still nervous from being harassed by that young bull. Now, he's decided we're more interesting. What are you up to, mister? He's trying to be brave behind a bush and shake his head at us. There we go. Silly boy. And he's severely harassing those poor other Ellies who are now running off. What are you doing? What are you doing, you Nana? He just looks like he wants to have a good playful time, but no one wants to play with him. Now he's finally having a drink. And see, still not relaxed. That young female. Very peaceful scene here, apart from the unrelaxed little Ellies. Oh, he looks... Nice, Andre. A pretty reflection. Oh, he's doing the funny nonsense again. Maybe he's got an itchy knee. And I cannot explain why. There's no sort of logical reasoning why he would do that. Well, off they head. We're going to let them continue on their merry way. We're going to start making our way back towards Djuma. They're doing it again. Nobody's going to hang on. Look at this. This is absolutely ridiculous. What are you doing, you silly creature? Hey, he just wants someone to play with. No one wants to play with him. Shame. Poor boyo. Very peaceful scene. Finally being able to have a drink in peace. Looks like she's finished drinking. And it's going to move off for a night of feeding. And these massive animals have to keep feeding throughout the day and night to sustain that huge frame. Hi, Amy, who's in California. Amy's wondering, I think elephant body language is similar to a horse's body language. No, not really. I mean, all animals to a degree have certain body language that lets you know that they're upset. But elephant and a horse, I would say, is quite different. A zebra on the horse and is almost identical, but an elephant and a horse, not so much. One last sip. Mom's already gone. And going to follow Mom into the woodland. Bye, guys. So we're going to start moving back towards Djuma now. Because it is getting quite nippy and we've had such a spectacular time down here on Cheetah Plains. While we make our way back to Djuma and see what else is happening on the long road home, let's go back across to Jamie so she can update you on her plans.
Oh, while Brent continues on his long journey back to home, we've actually done a very long circuit of pretty much the whole of Djuma, and we've now hit the southwestern corner, which is very, very close to where Karula crossed out. And I've come through here just in the hope that perhaps we might encounter her on her way back. Now, it is getting very dark, as you may have noticed, which means that the spotlight will be coming out in a couple of minutes. If we do encounter Karula, and if she does have her cubs with her, then obviously we will leave straight away if it's too dark for us to view her. But for now, we've got a couple of minutes of light, so we can just check around the area and see if she's not on her way back north. That's the plan for now. The lion sighting at this point has shut down. It's been closed off again so that the cubs are not spotlighted while they are as young and as vulnerable as they are. Even with Mom there, nobody wants to risk spotlighting them and potentially attracting the attention of any animals, like especially hyenas, but any other of the predators. and we certainly don't want to add an extra level of distraction to their lives. In terms of the predator hierarchy, the lion comes right up at the top, so she is strong enough to defend her babies, but not against a group of hyena, which fall very close below the lion in terms of their predator status. And Wesley, on that subject, we've often spoken about the somewhat unfair reputation that spotted hyenas have earned, and you wanted to know why it is they're known more as scavengers than as predators. It's a very good point. It is a misnomer in a way. They are very much predators in their own right, and in certain areas, Wesley, they hunt about 80% of what they feed on. It depends very much on the lion concentration, and the lion dynamics, the lion distribution of an area, and the prey distribution of an area. That will determine how often the hyena clans of a particular place will hunt. In our case, I would say that our hyena clan is mostly scavengers. They do spend a lot of time moving around and about and feeding off carcasses that have been left behind, or occasionally, even as we saw a couple of weeks ago, chasing the lions off the kills themselves. They often steal from our leopards. Many times we've told the story. We've shut down for the end of the sunset safari with a leopard with a kill, and we've questioned whether or not the leopard will keep it, and we come back the next day and there's hyena tracks everywhere and a great big drag mark and one slightly annoyed leopard that's moved off. Now, our hyenas do a lot of scavenging. That's because they can. There's a high predator concentration, there's a high lion concentration, and so they scavenge a lot. But in places like Botswana and Namibia, other areas, even in Eastern Africa, Tanzania and Kenya, the hyenas of those sorts of places do a great deal of hunting, and they're actually probably, in terms of their success rate of kills that they initiate, or hunts that they initiate that result in kills, they're actually more effective. They are better at it than lions and leopards, if you could term it like that. And that's because they, like the wild dog, rely on their extreme stamina, their speed, and not so much speed or short ambush bursts of strength. It's a constant wearing down of the animals that they're hunting. I did a sleep out where about 300 yards away from us once, we were sleeping out under the stars. The hyenas actually brought down and killed a zebra not far away from us. Where I was working, as a contrast, the hyenas there did a huge amount of hunting for themselves. It just depends on the area and the circumstances, but hyenas do have that reputation as just nasty thieves that always steal the food from other predators and don't do any of the work themselves, which isn't fair. But they've evolved to be scavengers as well as predators, and a lot of the scavenging is really important, because what it means is that they are essentially the dustbin men of the bush. The rubbish collectors, and they make sure that none of the carcasses are left behind to spread disease and bacteria. They fulfill a very important role. I just wish that they would come back onto Djuma and have their den site with all of the cubs back in one place once again. And we're missing out on watching the cubs that we started off our year observing. We're missing out on seeing them grow up. And that's because I think they've moved their den site to Simbambili. But never fear, they will be back once again. Djuma forms the heart of our clan's territory, so they will be around. Time to break out the spotlight and see whether or not there's any sign of the lovely Karula coming back to the north. We've just gone past the point where she crossed. All seems very silent to me. That being said, everything seems silent over the sound of Maggie's growling. And hello to Musical in Colorado, and welcome to the Sunset Safari. I'm thrilled to hear that you are delving a little bit further into our leopards of the Sabi Sand, and particularly the leopards that we here at Wild Earth are so privileged to see. You've been looking at a family tree of Karula, and you were wondering, because you know that there are other males, obviously Tingana and Mvula, that are breeding in this area that are not connected to Karula's family line, but you do want to know excuse me, if there are any females that are not part of Karula's family line but are breeding around here. The truth is, almost invariably with female leopards, because they don't disperse all that far away from their mothers, or they often don't disperse all that far away from their mothers in comparison to male offspring, genetically you'll find that a lot of the females here are related in some way, particularly given the level of, if I could describe it as such, promiscuity of the female and the male leopards. So you could well find that a lot of the individuals share the same father as Karula, for example. We just won't ever know. That being said, there was a female leopard called Kwatile, beautiful female leopard of what was known as the Vombo leopard line. She very sadly died. We don't know exactly what it was. It was a suspected snake bite, but we'll probably never know. But she has an adult daughter called Tsakani. Now, Tsakani has been seen on Djuma once or twice. I've seen her, Brent's seen her. She occasionally wanders through into the top northwestern corner of that area. Her main territory seems to be around Simbabili, but at the moment she's trying to establish herself. There's also Saleheshe, that is right to the west. She's right to the rest of our territory. Saleheshe is also, again, much bigger and taller than the Karula female line. Very, very bulky leopard. And her daughter Tiani has just been given her name, which means strength. Tiani will also be relatively soon establishing herself a territory, so it remains to be seen whether or not she decides to come through this area. And then naturally, the leopardess that has managed to avoid me so far, Inkanyeni. Inkanyeni bears distant relation. Her territory is around Torchwood, Buffelshoek, Cheetah Plains area. It looks as though she has potentially lost one of her cubs, but that remains, it seems like it is likely. She hasn't been seen, she's been seen with only one cub a couple of times, so she's around as well. And then Shaluva, the leopard in the north around Manyaleti. So those are the female line that are not directly related to Karula, but as I said, you may find that there is a connection. If you go far enough back, you might find they share the same father, the same grandfather, the same grandmother. There are connections. In the same way, if you were to go back far enough, you might even find that the Sticks and the Nkuhumas were part of the same pride at some point, and then maybe the Nkuhumas came from a split from the Sticks, just like we talked about before. Unconfirmed, but it is a possibility. There might be a genetic connection. I'm trying to think if I've missed out any. If I have, then you are more than welcome to let me know. I'm sort of thinking off the top of my head, but those are the ones that we could see in this area. I'm sure I've forgotten one. Just can't think. Shaluva, Kwatile is now dead, Tsakani, Saleheshe, Tiani, Inkanyeni. I think that's it. That are not directly related to Karula. But of course, our three main females that we see regularly, Karula, Shadow, and Tundi. Inkanyeni has managed to give me the slip every time I go searching for her. And on that very subject, James Richard, no news on our expectant mother, Tundi, when we last saw her around the Djuma Dam on Cheetah Plains, just to keep you guessing and confused. When we saw her on Cheetah Plains, she was looking exceptionally pregnant and very clearly close to full term and about to have cubs, and she was inspecting den sites that she has used on regular occasions. Now, no news so far, but no news is good news. We'll just have to wait and see. And of course, if she does have cubs in that drainage line system, we probably won't know about it until they're about 2 months old and accompanying her. Now we'll have to wait until we see her once again before we get any kind of confirmation. But my guess would be that she is going to have those cubs. She was demonstrating that same behavior that Karula did just before she had her current set of cubs. That frequent urination, that restless, uncomfortable look. And those guides that have worked at Cheetah Plains and know Tundi well seem to think that she was going to den somewhere there soon. How's the view of the moon there, Bebop? Too high. Too high, oh no! I don't know the range of this situation. Sorry, everybody. Okay. There's a moon, everybody. It's looking slightly larger than it did yesterday, since it is a waxing moon. Unfortunately, I've made life a bit tricky for Brian. He can't actually really show it to you. Nope. Okay, well, we'll continue onwards. It's a beautiful evening, though. It's gone dead still. It's actually so quiet. I don't know if that's just in contrast now that the engine's off. Right. Well, we're going to continue on looking for the wonderful, mysterious creatures of the evening. In the meantime, Brent has one that will be out and about and wandering around throughout the night.
Look at that. A hippo coming out of the dam on its way to go feed for the evening. You've got to be very careful with hippos at this time of the year because of the drought. We're not going to move too much. I'm just going to let that hippo wander off. It's going to go behind us now. I'm sorry, John, I can't see where I'm shining the light. So I'm doing a good job. Shining with my monitor. Looks like a big female. Off she goes. Wasn't that cool? Not something we get to see too often out of the water. Now, Lily in New Mexico is... Oh, sorry. I'm just going to turn the car quickly. Sorry, Lily. I forgot.
Sorry about this, everybody. Perhaps something has pushed over the Gauri repeater, just like the elephants have pushed over this marula tree. Our technical team is rushing around madly trying to...
Sorry about that. It's a bit of a bad signal spot down in the little drainage there. So Lily was wondering how big is the hippo's teeth. Now, they're massive, Lily. Sometimes as half as long as my arm, thick, and they're sharp, and they sharpen up against each other. Now, those teeth are not for eating, they're for fighting. So defending themselves against lions and hyenas, and also fighting amongst themselves. So very impressive set of teeth to defend themselves. So Jamie and Brian are done for the evening. The battery pack has expired. So, well, you're stuck with Jean-Ray now for the rest of the Sunset Safari. And hopefully we can find you some interesting animals. I'm thinking bush baby. What are you thinking, Jean-Ray? Jean-Ray? Huh? A unicorn. Chandra wants to find a unicorn. Well, it seems like we have a new viewer. A big welcome to Jess in Durban. Sunny Durban. Kirsten is actually from Durban, our director. And Jess says, well, it doesn't look like there's much grass around at the moment. What do the grazers eat? Now, you wouldn't believe it, but if you look carefully, there isn't much, but there is some grass about. So they'll literally be picking off any little bit of grass that they can find. And as well as a lot of the grazers will actually browse a bit at this time of year. Sorry, let me just fix this quickly. Okay, pointing the very, there we go, that's much better now, I can see. Okay, and this one, let's go, there, I put it there. There you go. So they will start browsing. So buffalo will eat things like round leaf teak and terminalia. One of the animals that suffers the most, and generally the first animal to really die during a drought, is warthog. Warthog take it quite heavily, and they're often the first to die. After the warthog, you start normally to see animals like kudu and inyala and bushbuck start getting very well hit. The impala sort of stays in the best condition the longest because they are able to feed off both grass and leaves. But also just remember that with this drought, only the strongest genetics are going to be left. So the animals that survive the drought are going to be in tip-top shape, genetically speaking. Obviously, after having no food for 7 months, they're not going to be in the best of shape, but those who survive will be genetically superior to those who have died. It's always the young and the old that go first, and we'll notice that there's very, very few baby buffalo calves when we see the big herds. Buffalo is another animal that the drought hits quite heavily. Wildebeest sometimes as well. Well, the wildies were looking okay the last time I saw. What was that? No, he was a bush baby that bounded off. It's not a bush baby. It's a duiker. Duiker are always so tricky. They always look like a cat. You can just see the eye flashing through there. A little duiker. They quite often look like a cat. They're quite skulking in the way they move. So you always, oh, stop, and then, oh no, oh dear, it's snot. Aaron in New Zealand says he'd love to see a caracal. Aaron, me too. I really would, and that would make another tick on my list of little carnivores. Got the African wildcat, got serval. Caracal is definitely missing. I think it's the only cat in the Sabi Sands that I haven't had on a live drive. We've had lion, we've had leopard, we've had cheetah, we've had serval. We've had African wildcat, so yes, caracal is the only missing cat. And this drought conditions are the best chance to see them. There's very, very little grass to hide in. Okay. Oh, we're back safely on Juma at the moment. I'm going to change radio channels and go back to the Northern Game Drive channel. Karula, next one. What do you think? Karula, next one. We might have a gander at Karula on the way home. Just want to find out something quickly on the radio. Shanae, just confirm where that Tingana sighting is. Copy, thanks very much, Nay. Good news for the morning. Tingana, people were wondering where Tingana was. He's moving west towards Juma at the moment. So he's heading past Chitwa Lodge at the moment, but heading for Juma. So we'll definitely have to look for his tracks on the Sunrise Safari tomorrow. Oh, I forgot to go off the eastern channel. Stations back from the east with any updates for the north. Let's see what I've been missing. Oh, there's lions roaring in Buffelshoek. That doesn't help us too much. Sounds like maybe one of the Birminghams is around near Buffelshoek Dam, but roaring to the north. Hi, Cecilia. Cecilia says she knows lions will hunt buffalo. Do they ever hunt rhino? Cecilia, they do, but very occasionally. And a rhino is a lot bigger and a lot tougher than a buffalo. A thick hide is very difficult to get through. But I have actually seen a lioness jump onto a baby rhino and then get chased by the mom. But and I know of one pride in the Kruger that used to kill sub-adult rhinos relatively regularly, but it is not a common thing. Okay. I really want to see an African striped weasel. Now that is one of the rarest little critters out here, and I've actually seen one on Najuma. Jamie as well. We were coming home from a friend's house at Simbambili, and we saw this tiny little weasel on the road. And it is, I haven't seen many of them in my life, but nice to have seen one here on Najuma. So there's always the chance we might see one. But I thought we'd check sort of one of Karula's favorite haunts, this area, while we're on our way back. So far, not much. No bush babies, no jennets, no civets, no caracals, no owls. I actually wouldn't mind seeing some owls. I really do love owls. One of my favorite owls, which you don't see too often in the Sabi Sands, is the white-faced Scops owl. Very pretty little bird. Hear them calling, but you don't see them that often. Well, it has been a cat-filled Friday. I wonder if Saturday Cataday is going to come into play tomorrow. We shall have to see. False alarm. Not even a nightjar. It is quite chilly, which is good because it means a lot of little critters will get moving a little bit earlier. Now, this little section through here is a good little critter zone. I've seen lots of different things here. Bush babies, jennets, owl. Actually, I've seen owls here as well on this little stretch. Checking carefully the trees, on the ground, in the thickets. Watch the branches. Hi, Valeria. Valeria would like to know, are we going to do a Facebook wrap-up tonight? I don't know, Valeria, are we? I think we are. I think we shall be doing a Facebook wrap-up this evening. Ooh, what have we got? Oh, there he is. Yay! Don't jump, don't jump. There he is, bush baby. Hello, little monster. How incredibly cute little creatures. Those massive eyes. Oh, boom, boom. Massive ears. Jump. Now, if we're lucky enough to watch him cross the road, a bush baby without a tree is possibly one of the funniest things in the world. To watch them run along the ground. Oh, he's chewing gum. So that's one of his gum spots. So he'll chew that acacia. And he'll chew it probably a couple of times a week to make sure it keeps producing gum. Let's try and sneak a little closer. It's just disappeared. Got him, John? Look at that. Isn't he just gorgeous? You can see those massive eyes develop for nocturnal vision. Massive ears. So they are true omnivores, and it's the smallest primate we get here at Djuma. This is called the South African bush baby, or South African galago. This one looks like it's just woken up. Shame, looks a bit shell-shocked. But he probably only would have come out of the nest in the last 10 or 15 minutes. So literally, they have just woken up. Like, isn't it amazing if you look around that bush baby, look at the thorns, and that bush baby is able to maneuver without injuring itself through that morass of acacia thorns. Aren't you clever? They have very high metabolisms. You can see that by the heavy breathing, or quick breathing rather than heavy breathing. Now, they eat all sorts, as I said, moths, insects, grubs, but also fruits, acacia gum or gum from trees. Oh, looks like it's time to move. Are we going to jump? Are we going to jump? This is so cute. Now, I've had a few pet bush babies over the years. They're quite interesting because they leap onto your head in the middle of the night and it gives you a hell of a fright. And also they have quite an irritating, well not irritating, well it's an important natural function, but they urinate on their hands and feet. And it adds a bit of stickiness, but it also enables them to scent mark their territory. So they live in little family groups, and they have set territories, and they'll patrol those territories quite regularly. But isn't that wonderful? Isn't that a wonderful way to end the sunset safari that's had lion cubs and leopard, some ellies, and now a cute little bush baby at the end. So from Jean-Andre and myself, toodles, and we'll see you tomorrow for another exciting day in the wild.